What's up guys, back in another Konosuba video. In today's video we are going to go over personal weapon tier list. I feel like it's time to update this as I feel like some of them have changed but not too terribly much, but I thought, you know, might as well help out the newer players who are starting because of Legendary Cosmo or started during the first anniversary. Now before we get into this, I am going to be ranking Miru and Veneer's weapon as they are coming in the next couple months, so might as well rank them for when they do come out so you guys can get a general idea. Before we start the video, don't forget to like and subscribe for more Konosuba content. I post basically every day. Every now and then there'll be a day where I don't upload, but mostly that's for a personal reason, or you know, something else happened, like I double uploaded the day before, or there's just a quick video with not too much. But anyway, regardless of that, let's get into the video and start with Cosmo, who, funny enough, is an S. I don't know where I was going with that joke, but he is extremely good. Chun Maru at +6 does 178 physical attack, 40 plus 40 luck, has plus 14%. I believe it's normal damage. I can actually double check that real quick. You're gonna hear that whoop whoop. Yeah, okay, it's normal attacks, which when I first started playing, funny enough, I actually thought that meant his basic attack, but actually it's just the non-elemental attacks, so snipe is a part of that, which really helps with that. So, you know, normal or elementalist damage, whatever you prefer saying, they are the same thing. It does include his ult. Also does a 12% increased ultimate gauge charge, since most of the time you're always using the snipe ult, and you know, Cosmo is just crazy good at the moment with both lightning and the red shred Cosmo. You're pretty much just always gonna run this or the other Chun Maru. This one allows the other characters, such as, let's say, eyes or like an iris or a darkness, to have Chun Maru while Cosmo has his personal weapon, so it's also very good in that regard. Next up is Aqua. I think Aqua is an S as an extremely good weapon. It does 150 physical attack, 69 magic attack, and has an 8% physical and light damage increase. The only time you aren't using this is Legendary Aqua. Every other time you're using this one. Pretty much that being the exception, you know, should be pretty obvious that this one is an S. Aqua being in scepters and doing physical attacks kind of hurts the fact that most of the scepters have higher magic attack, but her personal weapon pretty much fixes that, and most of the time you're running God Blow on the non-water Aquas, so it works out for that too. Next up is Megumi. Funny enough, another S. Megumi's staff does 183 magic attack and then boosts her ultimate damage by 21%, and since her ultimate is pretty much the reason you're running her, it getting boosted by 21% is huge. Very nice. Pretty much as long as you can clear the waves in arena, you're using this staff. If you have a little bit of a trouble doing that, you'd probably run the Leviathan, almost said axe, sorry, staff. But other than that, you're running this one, so I do think it is still an S. Next up is Darkness's Sword. Now, a lot of people are going to say this is not that good, but personally, I think Darkness's Sword is an A. It does 176 physical attack, 63 physical defense, and then has a trait of 10% physical and magical damage resistance. Now, I think this is really good because two things. One, makes Darkness even more tanky, and two, it pretty much is like a lifesaver in arena, or not arena, sorry, dungeon. I got arena on the brain. Dungeon is pretty ruthless most of the time, and having this weapon on even non-legendary darknesses is going to help a ton. Plus, it's going to allow some of your other characters to have the other sword weapons as well. Something like Mitsurugi. Most of the time I would use I believe the Enigma sword is what it's called. It's the arena one. I normally would use that on darkness, but since I have her weapon, I've noticed a pretty good increase in tankiness. I'm not saying the other weapon is bad, but I actually really like this weapon, so I might be overhyping it. Let me know in the comments if you disagree with this pick, but I personally think it is one of the higher up weapons to make. Next up is Chris's Magic Dagger. Now, This is going to be ranked based on the fact that Chris is getting insanely good. I don't know if I'd put it in S, but it is still extremely good. It has 174 physical attack, 3 agility, and then 9% physical attack, 15 if the target is debuffed. Since we are getting Ninja Chris and Legendary Chris, that legendary later on, this dagger is actually pretty solid. I can't remember off the top of my head what the goddess one does, but the assassin dagger is just slightly weaker than this one. Plus, debuffing a target is, you know, as easy as clicking one skill basically, because most skills debuff at this point, or at least has a debuff skill on one character that's out at all times, unless you're running like a really weird team. So the condition is rather easy to get off. Personally, I really like this dagger, and I pretty much use it regardless of what other daggers I have. Very, very, very nice weapon, and since, you know, we're getting really good Chris's, you're gonna want to use this weapon and get it up just so she does some extra damage. Next up is Whiz. This one is gonna hurt. Whiz, unfortunately, I don't think is an S. It really depends. Actually, because I'm a Whiz fan, I'll actually put an S. But I think that the priority for this weapon is going down to A, as Whiz is not used too much. The only reason I say this is an S is because without it, Whiz is nowhere near as good as she is. But considering most Whizzes aren't used anymore, except for the swimsuit one in Mages for Lightning, and the Christmas one in Fire and some other elements, she can work, but she's not as dominant as she used to be. I'll still put this in S, but the time of Whiz is over. Personally, I actually think it belongs in A, so I'm actually going to put it in A now that I think about it. If you don't have Christmas Whiz, there's almost no point in making this weapon, because you're probably not going to be using Whiz too terribly often. Of course, if you do use Whiz, definitely put it in S, but as it stands, I actually haven't used Whiz too much myself recently, so I'm actually going to dump her down into A. Next up is Union. How Union shares her weapon problems with a couple other mages. She has 178 magic attack, 16 magic defense. Her traits are 8% magic damage and 7% light damage. Now this is pretty much prioritized for normal Union. They're not horrible. It's pretty much, if you have it, use it. If it doesn't work for you, use a different staff. Just kind of how it is. I'm going to put most of those in B when we get to them. Next up is Iris. Iris does 179 physical attack, 16 physical defense, 11% physical attack, and 8% ult damage. Pretty good. Not gonna lie, I made this for my Iris, and it's pretty much the only sword I ever used with her. Pretty much frees up Chunchumaru to go to Eyes or Mitsurugi, or if it's Legendary Darkness, I give Chunchumaru to that darkness. Cosmo pretty much always gets his sword, so I do think it is a pretty good sword for if you use Iris. Definitely a better option than some of these other weapons, because unfortunately the weapons kind of go downhill when we get certain characters. You'll see in a minute. Next up is Komeko. She does 178 magic attack, 16 magic defense, 10% elementalist damage, and 11% magic damage. Now it boosts elemental damage for mages who have elemental basics, so it's only for her ults, and her ults suck. Don't make this weapon. It is not good. Just use literally anything else. Anything else is better. Next up is Cecily. She has a 142 physical attack, a 154 magic attack, 10% magic damage, and 6% water damage. Now this weapon is a little iffy just because it has split, because she does both magic and physical attacks. I understand the ult's physical, but it's still really weird. The trade's also not too crazy good, because if you're using it for water and you're not using a water Cecily, you're just using, I mean, you're losing out on the physical attack. Overall, I just don't see any use for this weapon at all. I'm not a fan. Maybe when Legendary Cecily comes out, it'll have some use, but Until then, it's in the dust tier, which when we get to dust, you'll see why it's called dust tier. Next up, we have Aru, 178 magic attack, 16 magic defense, 8% magic damage, and 7% dark damage. Pretty much the same thing as Yin Yun. If you're using a dark Aru, use this. If not, you're using a different one. If you can't use a different weapon, like you don't have it, then just use this, I guess. But there are better options, such as the Arena and Goddess staffs. Boom. Wands. I don't know why I just forgot what the weapons were called. Anyway, up next is Mitsurugi. Mitsurugi has 178 physical attack, 32 physical defense. He has a 10% physical attack, and he recovers 170 HP after every action. Not that bad, actually. I haven't used this yet, but I feel like most of the let's relax Mitsurugi. Definitely not a bad weapon. The tanking definitely helps him. The physical attack is going to make sure he still does some pretty good damage. I'd say this is pretty good. Now, most of the sword users are in a weird scenario of their weapons are actually pretty good. So it's pretty much whoever you use the most. Like, let's say you use Iris the least, probably would give her Chunchin Maru and make the other sword users have their weapons first. Darkness is probably on the lower priority of sword users, as you can probably just give her the arena one. Definitely a little bit easier to choose if you have eyes, because eyes will probably get Chunchin Maru, and then the rest of them get the unique weapons. Other than that, let's hop on to the complete opposite of what I was talking about. Dust. His weapon is terrible. 176 physical attack, 10 to dexterity, because apparently he's darkness and can't hit anything. Then he has a 9% physical attack, 15 if below 50% HP. Yeah, if you're that low, you're probably gonna die, or if you have a healer, you're gonna heal above 50%. The dexterity is pretty much useless. You'd probably just want to use the arena one or Chunchin Maru instead, because yikes, this is bad. That's why it's called the dust tier. I'll let him lead his whole dust group, but just yikes, not it. Next up is Rin. Rin has 158 magic attack, 3 agility, and then 8% magic damage and 7% wind damage. Now, when the game first came out and wind Rin was extremely good, I'd probably rank this at least A. But now that, you know, more Rins are in circulation, you're not using wind Rin because eyes and physical wind are just so insanely good. I don't think this is that great. I think it's worse than Yin Yin and the others. So it's gonna get knocked down to C. I still use it just because most of the time when I use Rin, it's probably the wind one, or I just have it because I have other stuff on Aru and Yin Yin and I just need, you know, something, and most of the time I'm running for wind ult, but it's still not to anything crazy. Just use a different staff if you have it. Next up is Leah. I really like this. Personally, I would put it in S, but I feel like that's a little bit too crazy. She has 158 physical attack, 3 agility, 12% physical damage, and plus 7% magic defense. Lances don't really have anything too crazy because most of their stuff are healing when getting hit or healing with actions. I forgot which one is which for the assassin and the Axis / Eris coin, but those are the two abilities for those. Leah having the magic defense and physical attack is going to make her hit a bit harder and still tank at least magic defense a bit more. I really like Leah, and ever since I used this weapon, I pretty much just shove her on any team I can for farming or whatnot, just because she's a cool character, cool weapon. I don't think it's quite S tier yet. Maybe in the future, you know, when JP gets more levels, or we get more on the global version, and it's, you know, gains like some crazy like 10% to magical and physical defense or whatnot, it'll get its S tier treatment. But at the moment, I'm confident putting in A. Next up is Cielo. She gains a 55 physical defense, 157 magic attack, then an 11% magic damage boost, and a 7% physical defense. Now it does less damage than the elemental sabers. The physical defense is okay for things where you need a lot of defense, but overall I don't think it's that great. I'd rather just use any other one, so I'm gonna put it in C. It has like one use, I guess, for being more tanky, but I feel like that's never something she really needed to worry about, and I'd rather just have the extra damage. Next up is Erika. Erika's is insanely good. 172 physical attack, plus 3 agility, 9% attack, 16 if above 7% HP. If you have the swimsuit one, she has a skill that's literally the same exact trait, is just being above 7% HP. Insanely good. Definitely not as useful as you know, other characters, such as, you know, let's say you have the OG Erika or whatnot, because they don't have a skill as well. But I still think it is an A tier weapon. I'm biased and want to put an S just because I really like Erika, and the swimsuit one is just so crazy good, but I'll hold back and realize not everyone has her, and overall it's still just an A tier weapon. Next up is Melissa. I unfortunately have this weapon. I put it on her just because, why not, but overall it's still not good. 172 physical attack, 3 agility, 9% physical attack, 16 if this target has a status ailment. Yeah, good luck ever getting that to proc, even in the EX arena right now, where you want to use the smoke screen for the 1-star Mel. It can still miss and can still fail, meaning her trait is actually kind of hard to get off. I low-key think it's in best tier. Just use the arena one, or if you have the goddess one built, use that instead. Take it from someone who has it. It's not it. There's so much better stuff. Next up is Mia. Mia has 167 physical attack, 32 physical defense, 12% physical damage trait, and 7% physical defense. Pretty much the same thing as Leah. So I'm gonna put put her with Leah. I don't really think I need to go over that. Next up is Amy. Amy has pretty much the same thing as Cielo, so I'm gonna go ahead and knock her there real quick. 55 magic damage, 55 magic defense, 157 magic attack, 11% magic damage, and 7% healing. Pretty much the same issue. The healing is, I think, better, just because I guess her heals would heal a bit more. But overall, just grab an elemental scepter and call it good. Next up is Miru. Miru has 178 physical attack, 16 physical defense, 8% physical damage, and a 7% lightning damage. Now, I'm going to put it in B for 2 reasons. It's pretty much down to, do you have the 4-star one? Build it. Or sorry, the 4-star lightning one. If you have it, or have her, build the weapon. The weapon is extremely good for the 4-star OG Miru, as she is extremely good. If you don't, the weapon's not anything too crazy, and you probably just want to run one of the other spheres. I don't know off the top of my head which one is better, because I personally haven't really looked into them, because I have no intention of building them spheres, as long as Leah and Mia continue just to have their unique weapons be, you know, pretty good. Other than that, that's pretty much all I have on Miru. Pretty self-explanatory. That's why it's in B, because it's pretty much hit or miss. Next up is Veneer. Veneer's mask, actually pretty good. Now, we probably won't get Veneer for at least until December. He has 158 magic attack, 3 agility, then a 9% magic attack, and a 15% if target is debuff. Same thing as Chris, so I feel it is fair to also put it in A. Now, this is pretty much where I'm putting the tier list. If you have any objections, you know, comments, disagreements, let me know in the comments below. This is my personal opinion. Obviously, it's going to be different from others, such as Paragon, or I know Aqua, I think, has a tier list on the JP version of this. But anyway, that's it for the video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and all that, and I'll catch y'all in the next video.